everybody. Seeing as Herb didn't really want to take part last time and he didn't want to look at us in his pen, I thought I'd give him no choice and pull him out of his pen before I read Mr. Gum to you. As you can see, he matches my wardrobe, so it's a bit tricky to see, but he's ever so cute and a little bit mardy, a little bit grumpy, but cute nonetheless. So maybe, probably not, but maybe he'll sit on my knee for a little while whilst I read chapter 10 of You're a Bad Man, Mr. Gum. I think he's going to jump off as soon as he can. Chapter 10. Oh yeah. Oh well. Chapter 10. Jake's Darkest Hour. Just like Jake, that fence caused Polly and Friday no trouble at all. They just jumped over it like blackbirds. More meddlers, griped Mr. Gum, dodging the angry fairy, who was back with a vengeance, and of course, a frying pan. Who needs it? The motorbike screeched to a halt in front of the oak tree. Polly jumped out of the sidecar and ran up to Jake, who lay on the lawn surrounded by his loyal animal friends. The moles shook their heads sadly. A squirrel blew its nose on a butterfly. The cats looked close to tears, for Jake was the only dog they had ever loved. Polly gasped when she saw him. The once splendid beast looked as weak as a baby. His fur had lost its shine, and his eyes were rolled towards the heavens. He was a mere shadow of his former self, and his shadow was a mere shadow of his shadow's former self. "Don't die on us, Jake," she sobbed, throwing her arms around him. "You're too fat and good to die." Jake's only reply was a feeble little woof, which sounded like a door closing. "If it hadn't been for that butcher, we could have reached him in time," sniffed Polly. "Time?" said Friday mysteriously. "What is time, little miss? 'Tis unwise to talk of what might have been and what might not have. 'Tis unwise." Polly was beginning to think that Friday was a pretty rubbish hero, but she had other things to worry about. "What are we going to do?" she wailed. "Just you wait and everything will turn out fine," said Friday, tapping his nose wisely. Actually, he didn't have a clue what to do, but just then Mr. Gum raced up, the fairy at his heels. "It's no use, O'Leary," cried Mr. Gum, like the world's most evil steagle. "That dog'll never bother no one again." "We can still save him," said Polly fiercely. "I don't think so, horrible little girl," said Mr. Gum. "Look at this." He pointed to his own shirt, on which he had written Champion Expert Dog Poisoner. That's not his neatest writing, is it? "That don't mean nothing," said Polly. "You've just written those words yourself in ketchup." That shocked Mr. Gum for a minute, because it was true. Said Friday, bending down to investigate Jake, even though he was secretly a little bit scared of dogs. Suddenly he stood up, his imaginary detective's moustache back in all its glory. "Tell me, Gummy me boy," said Friday, twirling his invisible moustache cunningly. "What is the one thing that can cure that big whopper of a dog there?" "Well, you know as well as I do, you crazy turkey," chuckled Mr. Gum. "The only thing what can bring a dog back from the brink is the tears of a man reunited with his long-lost brother, and that's not going to happen now, is it?" Said Friday grandly, wagging a finger like he imagined a detective would. "The tears of a man reunited with his long-lost brother, you say? Well, guess what, Mr. Gum? You are my long-lost brother, and I have a picture of us together when we were small, and when you grew older, you went over to the dark side and became a bad man, and forgot all about me, your brother, who is a force of good, and now look at what you have been reduced to, poisoning a happy bouncer of a dog just to avoid a whacking from a fairy, like the cowardly, bitter old thing you've become. And now that I tell you this amazing information, something inside you is bursting forth, and you are filled with love and compassion and dinner, and you cannot help but shed tears all over this blimmin' dog and wake it from its terrible sleep. The truth is a lemon meringue. Triumphantly, Friday handed Mr. Gum a battered photograph from the olden days. It showed Friday when he was a lad, but standing next to another boy. "That other boy is you," said Friday. "Now bring on those tears." The animals gasped, and Polly clapped her hands in delight. Mr. Gum peered closely at the photo. "Nah, that ain't me," he said. "We ain't long lost brothers at all, you weirdo." "Oh," said Friday miserably. He turned to Polly, his imaginary moustache drooping like an imaginary weeping willow. "Well, little miss," he said softly, "I did my best." Suddenly, it was all very quiet, like the sad bit of a story. No birds sang at that unhappy hour, no wind stirred. For once, even the angry fairy was silent. The only sound was Jake breathing in and out, weaker each time. "Goodbye, Jake," sniffed Polly, burying her head in his fur. "You was a good old boy, you was." Just then, someone tapped on her shoulder. She looked up to see a little boy she'd never seen before. Somehow, though, Polly felt as if she'd known him all her life. A feeling of great peace and warmth spread over her, and "It's that nightmare from the sweet shop!" Mr. Gum exclaimed. "How did he get here?" Turn again, Mr. Gum," said the boy with his beautiful, honest face. Mr. Gum backed away, his hands raised as if to ward off a ghost. "I don't like it one bit," he said in a quivering voice. "Appearing out of nowhere and talking of turning again. I don't like it." "I know you can be good again," said the boy, offering him another fruit chew. That was enough for Mr. Gum. He gave a terrified yelp, clambered over the fence, and scooted off down the road, the boy's words still ringing in his ears. The little boy turned back to Polly. "Child," he said, even though he was no older than she was, "listen carefully. You must zip into Mr. Gum's house and look inside the sailor's chest which stands in the front hall. It is full of magic chocolate with fantastic powers," he whispered. "Do not tarry, but bring me